Fantastic. So let's get going then. My name is Christina Costa, and I'm a Reiki teacher based in Brentwood in Essex. And I'm here today with Siobhan McDonald. So, Siobhan is a personal and business coach who specialises in addiction. And so, Siobhan, could you explain to us a little bit about how addiction coaching works?
The addiction, as we've figured out, and as the scientists and behavioural people and professionals look at it, there's several different definitions of addiction, but the one that we have been trained to work around is that addiction is really when something, either a substance or a behaviour, is impacting on your life and the life of those around you or particularly close to you, and yet you feel compelled to continue this. So we work with a process, the Rocks of Recovery, which is basically a process tailor made to suit the individual's needs because everybody is different. And this process looks at how you can fill the void as you continue on your journey to recovery. We like to call addiction really more maladaptive practices or behaviors because addiction has that connotation of a serious problem or issue. And yet everything can be cured, everything can be complete, finished. Yeah, it's very powerful, forward moving all the time.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because I know that there is a big difference, isn't there, between counselling, for example, and coaching. Would you be able to clarify that, please?
Yeah, a lot of people, when they hear of these support practices and therapies, that they're all the same. They all have obviously the person's interest at heart, and that's the number one that we all have in common. It is to help the person with their issue or their problem. But I particularly love coaching because it's always about change, always about transformation, and it's always about hope and empowerment, which is what everybody needs when you have an addiction or when you have an issue. Counselling is very much present or past present based, and coaching is present future focused. So there's the huge difference, always change.
Absolutely. Oh, and your face just lit up then when you were talking about the change and the transformation. It's wonderful
Yeah.
to see you got so much passion for this role. And now I'm really interested in Reiki. Obviously, this is my love. This is my speciality. And you completed your Reiki training with me this year. So, how have you been using Reiki in your work as a coach?
Christine, I could say I'm addicted to Reiki, but it's a very good addiction. We've had Reiki in our family probably for 2 decades, and my brother started doing Reiki, oh, I'd say probably, well, actually, yeah, 20 years ago. And then because of the power of it and the healing elements to it, he did it, his wife, his children do it, my sister-in-law, and then my mother took it on. So my mother from a very traditional background, but yet she was just so taken with it and has done Reiki. And my dad, her brothers and sisters, family, me, when I was working in Lapland and she was in Ireland, when she was in Spain on holidays, she'd be doing it on me, you know, if you had an injury or an ailment, whatever it was. And then I just realized, you know what, I should be doing this myself. So I have dabbled in it quite a lot, but it was only since I did my level 2 with you and the symbols that it's become so powerful. And I think the major change in particular that I noticed it, sorry, just to go back a bit, was when
Mm.
I started doing Reiki meditations with you every morning.
Ah.
And that was where the addiction started because I realized whenever I did it, and I do it now every single morning, no matter what time I get up at, I have that literally habit, a good one, that I just lie there and I do my Reiki for 30 minutes. And it just gives me such focus. I send my intention to Reiki as you taught us. And even something like when the printer wouldn't start, I said, you know what, Christina said this works for everything. So yeah, I did Reiki in the printer. Felt a bit strange doing it and thinking, God, if anyone saw me. But the printer started working. I also find it very powerful if I want something to go right, a situation, a meeting, an encounter, whatever it is, I do Reiki before I start coaching with my clients. I send them distance Reiki. It just calms people down, it gives them focus. And the healing alone, I've done Reiki healing with people with many different ailments. Doctors, surgeons have said, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, this is phenomenal. You're healing the injury, the operation, whatever it is. Hugely powerful, Christina. And I'll be ever so grateful for you for a lifetime for what you've taught me. Fantastic.
Wow, thank you. You've really covered so much in that answer. Thank you, Siobhan. And I've got loads of questions now that come out of that. So I'm really excited to hear about the printer.
The print.
Um, I also use Reiki on you know, you have problems with technology. I seem to have problems with technology sometimes, and usually I turn it off and switch it back on again. But I do find that Reiki does help to make things work again, and who knows how or why. But what a wonderful tool for your everyday life. I think that's where I really believe the power of Reiki is quite underdeveloped. Actually, people see it as this as a complementary therapy, which of course it is, but actually to be able to have this as a tool for even something as seemingly insignificant as, oh, my printer's not working. I really think the possibilities of using Reiki are just boundless. And I always admire your dedication to your spiritual path, really, your spiritual practice. And I know we started off, didn't we, doing these morning meditations.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've managed to make this a habit and make this part of your routine. But for anybody who's perhaps struggling to create a routine, do you have any tips about how to maybe overcome that?
Yeah, Reiki. Just as Nike said, just do it. And it's funny, Christina, when you're saying like, it is a therapy. It's, it's serious energy going through you. But I believe too, with regard to the printer and why, it works. It actually works, I believe, because it calms me down. So instead of kicking it, slapping it, closing it, plugging it in, turning it on, off, whatever, and getting more frustrated myself, by doing the Reiki, it immediately calms me down that I'm coming at it and looking at it from a different perspective. I don't have that urgency to get the printer going. I can just think, do you know what? It'll start. So I think that for me is huge. And while you're saying you're admiring my spiritual past, I am the classic. I am the classic Tasmanian dust devil, Sonic the Hedgehog, running around on fast forward all the time, overthinking, just overdoing, people pleasing. I have had, and you said the technology blips, and now I just stop and I just, as I said, do the Reiki because immediately it just brings you to the present. And while
Mm.
everybody talks about the present, it really does work. So my tip is just stop whatever it is you're doing, even if it's just for 10 seconds. Just stop and then go back to what you're doing again. But just giving yourself that little circuit um, shot. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I completely agree. And I love what you said about perspective. I think gaining a different perspective in a situation is so crucial. And it's very easy to get kind of blinkered in something and feel a bit stuck. And you can talk about, you know, that you can apply that to many different situations, not just a technology blip. But the Reiki, as you say, it calms you and it gives you the ability to step away from the situation and see things through a different perspective. And I just think this is such a crucial tool, really, to develop in life. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about how you use Reiki with your coaching. So you said that you send Reiki to the situation. Is that? Could you explain a little bit more about how you do that?
Yeah, because the long distance or yeah, sending Reiki, through distance, even though I'm on Zoom with them, or even if I'm doing walking coaching, either way, it just sends a calmness. So I often think when somebody says, "Do you take a few deep breaths?" It can either send you into a spiral of, oh, "Here we go again," this mindfulness, whatever. But I think just silently sending energy healing to somebody, it doesn't do them any harm. It only just, as said, brings a calmness and an awareness. Because as you said, and brought it up there again, perspective. It's
Mm,
all about our perspective. And if you can come to any situation, be it addiction, be it a work issue, be it bullying, any issue, any situation, if you can just look at it from a different perspective, how do you do that? You literally have to step back, and be it that it is taking a physical step back, or when you're sitting, moving back or moving forward. But Reiki just gives you that serious calmness and focus and the capacity to think in the now. And I know I said we're hearing it all the time, but I've actually started practice because I know it works. Whereas
Mm.
if you told me that 10 years ago, I probably would have thought, yeah, how could it work? But yeah, kicking and screaming I am, and here I am, as said, a huge advocate of Reiki. And I just think it should be something like a lot of things should be taught in schools. It should be given to everybody. So powerful it is.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sold on that one already. I
I'm
can...
preaching to the converted.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, well, thank you so much, Siobhan, for sharing your perspective, because this is really what I'm trying to do with these series of interviews. I'm finding how lots of different people work with Reiki. You, of course, are in Ireland. You're in Wexford.
Yes,
Couldn't say that
yes.
then.
Yeah, yeah, the tongue twister. Yeah, and as you know, Christine, as well, I have recommended, and I highly recommend it to pretty much all my coachees who are in a position to see and are at the place where they can just say, how can I cope and how can I manage going forward? One of the ways is literally by learning Reiki. It's not a huge, there's no major theory, anybody can do it. As you said, and I love the story about the wee boy that you were working with, and he found his superpower. And I just think when I went to the printer, here's my superpower. It's, yeah, superpower.
Excellent. Well, yes, I think that's a wonderful place to conclude our interview. So, the Reiki, the superpower. Brilliant.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you so much.
And thank
And
you so much,
yeah,
Christina.
take care.
Take care. See you. Bye bye.